It is not true, but that is the International Criminal Court. Then you still have another report from Amnesty International, again accusing the Nigerian military of crimes against humanity. But they put it this way, that the federal government is shielding military officials, insurgents. That according to the Amnesty International says insurgency claimed 27,000 lives and people displaced were 1.8 million people since 2009. I said not enough high-level Boko Haram commanders on trial in Nigeria. Credit, meaning that the military is not doing what they're supposed to do. They are being shielded by the government. How's that? How do you react to that?
Well, there are two things to it. One, they were accusing of not trying high-level Boko Haram terrorists. That is beyond the Nigerian military. Then secondly, if, again, that the government is shielding, some Nigerian military officers, again, it is beyond the Nigerian military. But the truth is that we have gone through this time and time again. Amnesty International has been in the vanguard against the Nigerian military without even credible evidence. And I can tell you, beginning of what happened, take for instance, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, when some of these areas were not accessible. So how did they come about the information when there were no communication infrastructures in those areas? And I could remember there was a time they said over 5,000 people were killed. And I realized for you to carry the corpse of 5,000 people, you require nothing less than about 12 trailers. So where in Maiduguri did they bury such people? Whenever people are talking that way, you should understand the motive and how realistic those allegations are. Take, for instance, we are having problem with this war economy. Now there was an NGO recently that took up an apartment in Maiduguri for up to 10 years. So they envisage that this crisis will continue for 10 years when they are there just to kind of render humanitarian activities. So what I want you to understand, whenever people come up with such allegations, you should also ask them questions about, how did they come about it and the research methodologies involved.
General, before we let you go, let's go back to that issue of personnel again. I asked you a question about how long a soldier is meant to stay out there before he's rotated. We have messages that come in from individuals who say they have family members who have been out there for more than 3 years. They've not had contact with them. They've not seen them. And they wonder when the military is going to rotate them so that they can get to see their families. And you say that there is no specific, but you said there is no specific time. So let's say this, maybe because of the amount of work that needs to be done and the fact that the personnel may not necessarily be enough. The police sent in 2,000 personnel recently. How are you able to coordinate all of this and infuse them into your activities?
A very loaded question. First and foremost, I would have loved to know those individuals that have not been in touch with their family members in the theater of the operation for 3 years. I would have loved to have their contact, and I will definitely investigate and find out why. But the truth is that, yes, we are all Nigerians, and there is nobody that will come and fight this war for us other than ourselves. People should get that clear. So we need to support and encourage these soldiers, yes, to stand firm and know that nobody will just unnecessarily put them into, hardship just for the fun of it. It's just because we have work at hand and we just have to finish that work, and we need all the support and cooperations that we need so that to enable us solve this problem. Then secondly, we have elaborate welfare schemes which involve rotation of units and formation that have stayed long in the theater of operation. An individual corps for the support services, they also, rotate their troops. So it is not as if nobody cares. But situations sometimes warrant that, you have to abandon certain plans for exigencies of duties. But that thing is on course, including the leave and passes. But sometimes, some of them, you will give them leave, and they will just decide to stay in Maiduguri instead of going back to Ogomosho or where they come from. These are isolated cases, however, but it's being done on a daily basis, and it will continue that way. Then coming to the issue of the 2,000 policemen, what I want you to understand, we have come a long way in the fight against terrorism and insurgency. A lot of areas have been liberated, and part of it, I mean, in fact, the fight against terrorism and insurgency is hinged on three things. First and foremost, defeat of the Boko Haram terrorists, making room for humanitarian activities to take place, and restoration of law and order, so that government machineries will continue to function effectively. And that is where the role of the Nigerian police force come into being. And there is proper plan for coordination. Just recently, had it been that you saw the release we issued last week, a brigadier general has been appointed as a kind of liaison officer or coordinator between the Nigerian military and the 2000 police force. And you remember, again, they will even undergo training to acclimatize with the theater at our Special Forces School in Buniyadi. And they are going to fit in because they have to perform the police role as expected of them.
All right, thank you, General. But again, just for the final question here, and it's double-barreled. One, is the military partisan? Or otherwise, why would the military chiefs be attending political events? That's on one side. Then the other thing is, what should Nigerians know about the situation in order for them to be confident and stand behind the military continuously?
Well, unfortunately, I'm not hearing the last part.
Again, is the military...
last part of your question.
Is
but
the
if
military,
I get you right, you are talking about partisanship?
Yes.
And assurance about the ability of the military to discharge their duties?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Well, the military is apolitical, impartial, and will continue to remain so. Then secondly, I want to assure Nigerians that we will continue to do our best to ensure that Nigeria is safe and secure in any, excuse me, of the assigned tasks, particularly now that we are clearing the remnants of the Boko Haram terrorists. If we have the support and cooperations of Nigerians, I can rest assure you, sooner than later, we'll be done with that problem. And it is not just that aspect. The military is involved in so many internal security operations, and there are clear guidelines and rules of engagement in which the military should, abide by, and will continue to do so. And if there is any misdemeanor on the part of any of our troops, definitely the disciplinary process of the military justice will take its course. You remember we have sitting court-martials even in the Northeast, and just recently in 82 Division, 12 soldiers were sentenced for various acts of indiscipline. So I can rest assure you, the Nigerian military will continue to be apolitical, impartial, and professional in the defense of the territorial integrity of this country and democracy also.
And this insurgency will end?
Well, I didn't get that last part.
Can you give a deadline when this insurgency will end, a timeline?
Well, I cannot give you a deadline when the insurgency will end. It's a problem we are grappling with, but I can tell you we'll definitely deal with it decisively, and that will be sooner than you even expect, provided you continue to give us the necessary support and understanding and cooperation also.
Thank you very much. Brigadier General Sani Usman is a spokesman for the Army. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Sunrise Daily will be back in a moment. Please don't go away.